Hello and welcome to Constituency Report on Shaw TV. My name is Edward May, and with us in the studio today is Lana Popham, new Democrat MLA for Saanich South and official opposition critic for agriculture. Welcome to the show, Lana.
Thanks for having me.
Now, as usual, you seem to have brought in a whole bunch of stuff today, but we'll talk about that second half of the show. I'd like to start talking about the Union of BC Municipalities Convention that just happened last week, according to the taping date of the show. I was wondering if you could start with just a description of what that convention is about exactly.
Sure. Well, it's a collection of everybody who's municipally elected to get together and talk about the issues that municipalities in BC have to deal with. And there's a wide range of topics. It's very in-depth. It takes a week. You could almost take 2 weeks to cover all the topics that they're dealing with. And it's a chance for provincial level politicians to meet with municipal level politicians and discuss how the province can help or assist, or what direction needs to be taken. It's an incredibly strong political voice that UBCM has, and this year there was a lot of resolutions on the table, and it was very encouraging to see some of the resolutions that passed as they did. The resolutions around offshore drilling, tankers down the coast, bringing oil from the tar sands, that the non-support for that type of activity in BC, that passed unanimously almost. There was an overwhelming support for that. People are not in favor of doing that type of business in BC at the municipal level. And I hope that's a message that the Liberals get, because that's a message that we as New Democrats have been pounding on over the last year, definitely in the House. And it's nice to see that support coming from everyone. If they don't listen, it's just another example of them not listening to people in BC. This one's critical. I just heard a study that if we have the same type of oil spill on our coast as they had down in the Gulf, that would cover our entire coast. It would go from Alaska down to Seattle. It's our entire coastline. For me, it's a black and white issue. There is no way that we should be taking that risk. And you continue to hear the Liberals say, if we can find a safe way to do it. I don't think that we're going to find a safe way, and it's not a risk that we want to take. You know, if depending on what studies you look at, you can always find a study to back up what you want to do. But I think that people in BC are not in support of that.
And there was certainly a lot of buzz about these resolutions as they were approaching and trying to get them on the floor. What were some of the things that some of the councillors and mayors were saying about it?
That, the economy, we need to look at the economy definitely, but this sort of greedy economy is not what we're interested here. We want to have a green economy in BC, and there's a lot of innovative ideas about what that means, and that's another place to get them on the table there, and that's part of the discussions. You can look at our aquaculture industry, our salmon industry. Those are the things that people want to focus on now. They don't want to focus on bringing oil down the coast. So the excitement around those resolutions coming up, it was great. And in fact, I know there was some conservation groups there ready to film the vote and film the resolution on the table, and it happened so quickly that they never got to film it. So the support was unanimous, and it passed very, very quickly.
Now, another big part of the UBCM convention is usually the Premier's speech towards the end of the convention, because it's often expected that there's a big announcement. And what were your impressions of the speech this year?
Well, that was actually the first speech that I had been in person listening to the Premier. And, I had been told that often this is a place for great announcements. So, an hour into it, mostly all that I heard was how great the Olympics was. And it was, you can look around the room and see people with a kind of a curious look on their face, like, okay, we know it was good. That was a while back. Is this all you have to say? And, he kind of scattered a sprinkle of announcements that he's talked about before. He did talk about transportation. As far as transportation on the South Island, the Victoria area, we often don't get any anything announced for that, and we've been asking for that. We want our share of the money here to develop our infrastructure, our transportation infrastructure. So what he said that he was going to commit to rapid buses, to support rapid buses on this end of the island, and that's a discussion that's been going on. The discussion about rapid buses actually failed in 2008. People didn't see that that was part of our solution. Right now, that BC Transit is doing meetings with the public and consultation and talking about what we want. And a lot of people, there's a lot of excitement about LRT and zero emissions alternative transportation solutions, and we want to use that as a development tool here. We want to develop our communities around the transportation routes, not try to fit transportation into already developed areas that have no transportation plan. So that for me was one of the most disappointing announcements that he made locally. It just shows he's out of touch. He doesn't know what we've been talking about, and I guess he just decided to throw that out there to appease people on Vancouver Island, but it didn't do the job.
Now, it's interesting that you say that there's not very often announcements to do with transit in southern Vancouver Island, yet you hear a lot in the Lower Mainland and some of the Liberal ridings, and perhaps that's the reason why. But why do you think it is there seems to be this ongoing neglect of transit issues in Vancouver Island?
We're just not a priority. I don't think. I think that because you know, possibly it's political. We have a very strong New Democrat presence here on southern Vancouver Island, and you know, it would be sad to think that it comes down to politics and the Premier would be holding money back when we have an opportunity right now. We see Vancouver getting transportation infrastructure money, but in a lot of ways they're playing catch up. They're behind on their transportation plan, and that's what's going to happen to us if we don't get the funds here. And you know, that should come in the form of gas tax money. There should be federal and provincial money coming to the table to help us so that we don't end up in the same situation as they've ended up in the suburbs of the Lower Mainland.
Now, it's true there are a lot of New Democrats in southern Vancouver Island. However, there are two BC Liberals, and both are cabinet ministers, both Minister Chong and Minister Cole. Where are they? Where are they for advocating for transit issues?
I've never heard them discuss that, and I'd love to have that discussion. I love transportation. I think it's I could talk about it forever. But it's you know, I could talk about it forever, but at the same time, there's a lot of people getting impatient about us talking about it. It's something that would be a really why are they not advocating for it? I'm not sure, but you look in Minister Cole's riding, and we have an overpass being built from the airport. So he's obviously advocating for some sort of transportation solution. That's a blacktop solution as far as I'm concerned, and that's not what we're after. So if that's what he's going to advocate for, I'm not as interested in that.